Welcome, everyone. We're so excited to have you here today on our webinar about redefining our value proposition in real estate. This conversation is being powered by Equity Angels today, and we are excited to have a panel of experts that understand the industry and are ready to really dive into the deep conversations. These thought leaders today understand the industry. They also understand and will be talking about the proposed implications that the conversations we're hearing about changes in the industry will have on each and every one of us. We'll discuss how agents can adapt to change today and truly redefine their value proposition. We're also going to talk about building community and how we can act locally, but think globally. It's crucial for our industry to take a proactive approach to driving meaningful change today. And our panelists will share their insights on how we can effectively tell our story and demonstrate our expertise and our value. So let's meet our panelists today. I'm happy to introduce you to John Thorpe. He's a high-impact leader with over 20 years of experience in the real estate business. He serves as the Vice President of Sales at the agency with a focus on international operations. John has the honor of serving as the Chairman Emeritus of the Real Estate Alliance LGBTQ+ organization. And we look forward today to having John share his perspective on adapting to industry changes while maintaining a strong focus on client service. He's drawing his experiences today from his global expertise and his business practices in the United States and dialing in from Spain today. So thank you for meeting with us late in the day today, John. We're happy to have you.
Thanks, Kenya. It's great to see everybody. I'm really excited about this group of people. I think we can change the world, just us and our people in the session. So I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. Thank you. And thank you for meeting with us so late at night. Next, we have Laura Monroe. This is really a lady who needs no introduction, but for those of you who do not know Laura, she is the head of global community at Inman, which is super important to our industry. Today, we'll discuss with Laura how the importance of consistency, authenticity, and empathy in building a strong and engaged community will help us really find direction in these new days of real estate. Laura's ability to create community, fostered by a sense of belonging and inclusion, has made her a leading voice in the industry. And we're super proud to have her here today. Please welcome Laura.
Oh, thank you so much. That was a wonderful, wonderful introduction. I'm excited to be a part of this conversation. So thank you for having me.
My pleasure. And we have Jesse Garcia. Jesse is a proptech founder, business consultant, and a real estate broker. He's going to help us understand how to explore how technology can be leveraged to innovate and redefine your value proposition. Jesse's unconventional approach to driving accountability, results, and creating a culture of excellence in all of his pursuits will be really important in driving our conversation forward today. We will be talking about his hands-on approach to organized real estate today and how tech impacts today's agents and their success. Welcome, Jesse.
Thank you, Kenya. I'm excited and humbled to be a part of this group.
Happy to have you. And last, but certainly not least, we have Kim Guley. She's the founder and CEO of Builder Boost. And she will provide some insights today on opportunities in new home construction and how builders will continue to influence today's housing market and shape how agents can excel in this space. Kim will share real estate business practices for positioning agents to grow and build value drivers in the new home space. Let's welcome Kim.
Thank you, Kenya. Happy to be here.
Absolutely. Now let's get to it. John, we're going to start with you.
Uh-oh.
You bring a global real estate perspective to the conversation. How can real estate professionals adapt to the recent changes that we're experiencing while maintaining a shared and strong focus on client service? And what impact do you see this having on the brokerages in the United States and abroad? Both perspectives will really help us understand what direction we should take as an industry.
I think the first that I observed being in this space 25 years, I started when I was 10 years old in real estate. So anyway, that's a little joke there. And I've been fortunate to have a great kind of space and also in the past few years in Europe and other parts of the world. What I have observed in all these different territories is people in the real estate industry tend to be very reactive and not proactive. I think that's the number one problem. And you got to stop listening to the people that are just talking and not actually successful in this, and the move behind that. So I think where we are in the conversation that people are not having enough of is really post-lockdown, this format. It really doesn't matter where we are. I mean, we could be anywhere. I happen to be in Spain. I know where Kenya's at, and I think, Laura, I know where you at. But it just doesn't matter anymore. And what that means as far as people are living differently post-lockdown. And so I think it's not just about your community or being hyper local, it's about being global with your clients and really having, setting up your business where it is full concierge services to your client, not customer. Don't look at them as a transaction. And when you make that mindset change, I think it will change and be there for them for life and all of their friends. And when you build that up, your career will just be so enriched that it will just amaze you. And it's nothing better than to be sitting at your desk or your phone in the car and someone calls you from another country and says, hey, I heard about you. I want you to help represent us and the buying or selling of our home. So I think it really goes down to just simple things, but I think the simple are overlooked by all the noise.
You see something really interesting there. I was taking some notes. I feel like every time we talk, you drop some, nuggets on me that I hadn't thought about before. And you just did that now. You talked about getting back to the basics, right? When it comes down to being there for your client, getting rid of the noise. And you also brought something up that I find that I like to lean in on. You guys have heard of Brene Brown. She talks about being with the man in the arena. If you're not in the arena doing what we're doing, please don't give us advice. Unless you're able to understand what we're going through. And I think that's what we're seeing as an industry. And I'd love for everybody to chime in here. We get a lot of advice and noise from outside players who are not in the arena with us, right? So I love what you said, John. Make sure you're talking to people who understand what's going on and to look at these clients as clients and not just a transaction.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's universal. I see so many similarities over here in Europe that I do in the US and the Caribbean and Asia. It's very interesting. We're very similar. It is a very small world. And in the real estate world, it is very small. And we're very connected. And I think just thinking about your business, and I look back when I started, I kind of put in my head, do what others won't do or too lazy to do. And it paid off for me. I mean, I actually marketed, I'm showing my time frame here, in 2000. I actually put rentals with pictures on my website, and the amount of business that it gave me because no one else was doing it. They just didn't see the value in that. And so I think you need to find and see what are people doing and where are you passionate about and kind of where you are and using technology that kind of benefits the whole process of what you do. And so I laugh, but you know what? I made a lot of money off of that. You know what I mean? I made a lot of great clients. Well, I don't sell real estate anymore, but it was just something that I observed a lot and didn't listen to all the chatter. I said, what is missing here? And this is what I want to bring service to.
You did age yourself there saying putting pictures on your listings because that's just something.
All right.
Back when he was 10.
Right.
He was 10.
Well, and what you said, John, too, a lot of it goes hand in hand with the technology aspect of it, because you have to continue. And I think as we talk about really redefining our value proposition, it's leveraging technology, not using technology to replace a lot of that key relationship and that connection where you are providing a high quality service and an experience to your client. And I just see a lot of people in this industry trying to figure out how to automate and use technology to replace a lot of the things that really that's what the client is looking forward to. Yes, I'm not saying technology is bad. As a proptech founder, there are specific needs for it, but don't let it replace your connection, right?
100%.
It's listening, right? It's listening. And I know we talked about this a while back, but one of the things I finally got in my head was I wanted to make, I'm starting in real estate. I want to make the money of doctors and lawyers. So I said, let me put my practice like that. So I would meet with them and have consultations. You know what I mean? And I asked them, what is important to you? And they wrote all these things down. And so we had a roadmap. Before we started looking at houses, it was buyers. And for sellers, I actually brought them into my office, which no one does. And we did a presentation for them, right? And so it's not that hard to separate yourself. And it's something that people want. And in the sea of sameness, be different, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And what you're saying is nothing new. I mean, no disrespect to you being, innovative in your thought process, but it's not new. It's not revolutionary. You're giving people what they want. You're meeting them at the office. You're doing the things people don't want to do. And I think that's something important in today's world is people don't want to do certain things. So if you can do those things that others don't, that puts you ahead.
Absolutely. It's not hard. Really, it's all there. Just stop and look and observe, stop
Yeah.
talking and listen and observe, and you'll get it.
Go the extra mile. I'm going to drop a
Absolutely.
book recommendation, like Will Guidara's book, Unreasonable Hospitality. If you haven't read it, go read it. Phenomenal. And it will change the way that you run your real estate business. Because like John said, like put the client first, put that relationship and connection first. And that's utmost important in this industry, especially more than ever right now.
And I kind of want to add on to that, because I had an interview with one of the top agents in Atlanta who actually works with a developer. She has a $20 million business. But one of the things that she said yesterday that really sort of brings this all together is that she said, every piece of what I do on social media, she's got a huge social media following. She's very involved with that. But she said, but I have to back it up with the back end of what I have for my clients. I have to have as much attention to detail with how I service my clients and what the back end looks like. Because if I get a client in the door through a social media or anything else where I've established a certain level of trust, if I can't walk them into an office that has attention to detail, if I can't walk them through my process, my technology and all of that with the same attention to detail, it falls short. So I think there is the front-facing piece of our value proposition, but really where it comes down to is both the technology, both the relationship, and that proactivity to engineering an experience that is at a level that is your value system and the standard of service that you want to provide.
I love that, because that dips into what Jesse talked about with technologies there as an aid, not a crutch, but
Yes.
it's leveraging that technology to bring a client in. But then to your point, what are you going to do once you get them there?
Yeah.
And I think you talked about connection, or maybe it was you, Jesse, and this leads me into a question for you, Laura. When we talk about the importance of connection, that's in your wheelhouse,
Yes.
What do you experience when it comes to, or what do you look for when it comes to consistency, authenticity, and empathy when building an engaged community?
I think the core pillar of all of those things is really finding shared values with people that you have a sense of visionary alignment with, I like to say. There are people that sort of follow along with, sort of the status quo, or what I should do, or what people say I should do, or what other coaches and other people that are not in doing this every day say for us to do. But I think where we really find true impact with our value proposition is finding people that we have a lot of shared values with. I think it's our struggle right now in the industry that is struggling to redefine our narrative as a profession from all different perspectives, which is why I love this conversation. But shared values, if you can align with people that have your values, that you can have the right discussions with and move yourself into a forward-thinking place around everything that sort of shores up your value proposition, you're not only going to grow, you're going to change the trajectory of your business if you align yourself. I mean, there's nothing new about being in the same room with the people that make you smarter and better, not with the people that are just part of the group and you're just sort of status quo. You want to always reach for the people that are going to help make you better. And so that's where it's a shared experience, right? So there's things that you can give and there's things that you can take and gain advantage with. But if you don't have that sense of belonging and community with people that are aligned with you, it's very difficult to figure out where you fit in and where your value system fits in for what you're trying to build. And let's face it, we're all entrepreneurs at heart. We all are looking forward to building the thing that our service and our core element of our essence is really about, so that's the biggest piece for me, where I see it every day,
I love that, because we've all heard this saying that when you're the smartest person in the room, you need to find a new room.
Yeah.
It's true. It's being able to grow and being able to share. I love what you've said about shared values. I think that's so impactful to be in the room with people who understand where you are and understand where you want to go and have that perspective of the industry. You know, we talked offline, and I'm going to call you out for a moment, John. You said you were glad that this has happened to the industry, these changes we're experiencing. I want you to talk about that because you were bold in your statement when we met for a little panel prep to talk about, hey, these changes that are happening, I'm glad they're happening. Tell us why you're glad they're happening, John, and what that looks like in order for us to make this industry a little bit better.
Well, I stand by it even today and every day because there are a lot of people that, well, let's just say there are a certain amount of people that really looked at this as a career. And when Laura was talking, it just something came up, I wrote it down. And I wanted to say, without naming them or calling them out, in your environment, whatever that may be, your office or whatever you're at, kind of figure out who the country club agents are and do not lean on them for growth because it's not going to happen. This is more than a full-time. You're devoting your life, and you're devoting your life to make people's lives better, to create their wealth, right? And I also want to bring in, you know, we talked about, you know, competition and all that. Your other realtors or whatever in the marketplace, that should be your competition. Bring in new market share. That's what I did. New home buyers, put that in, have educational seminars. Just that's what people want. There's so much bad information and too much of it on the internet that it's just like, be that resource. That's what people want. They want to know that you care, you know? So I don't think it's that difficult. It's not that expensive to do these events. I did it when I had no money when I started. And so you can do these things, but be careful who you're find your tribe, I think is what we're seeing here. And find the right ones that really want to level up everybody and raise the bar of real estate in their community. That's the people you need to seek after, not the country club agents.
You know, that leads me to Laura. Let me kind of extend on what we opened with building community. What do you look for when you build community with Inman? Because you have a ton of realtors and agents across the country that can develop what you're working on. How do you select agents? What are you looking for? What qualities should they possess for you to bring them in to be a part of a community like Inman?
This is such a great question because I deal with this daily. In fact, just yesterday was a big day for me to sort of, you know, think through an initiative that we have, which is with all of the different personalities in real estate, to John's point, you know, really, I think what it boils down to for us is we're looking for the helpers and the givers and the educators and the people that want to be a true resource, not a persona, not a personality, not a profile that pushes a certain piece of an agenda or is recruiting or is doing that. We really want heart-centered folks that believe in the core mission and have shared values around what the principles of being an established professional in real estate is, rather than being, you know, part of a popular noise, just noise. And it really doesn't serve anyone or teach anyone. And I think that for building community, if you have people that are only willing to look at what's in it for me instead of what's in it for my profession, what's in it for making others better, bringing others along with our shared values and vision for what this industry is. I mean, if you look at marketing campaigns like Who We Are or, you know, different things that are marketing campaigns, but if you don't have that value system to back that up, this is where we're seeing what we're seeing today, which is a falling away of an identity in real estate. And you really have to understand what those values are. We have something at Inman that we call the Parker Principles, which was decided upon at a, you know, sort of a remote retreat back in 2018. And it really is about establishing what your core principles and values are. And it helps you know where to find your people, what conversations to have, and the decisions that you need to make to stick to that. And that's really part of not wanting to erode your value proposition, right? You have to have a giving. I think everyone in the real estate industry starts off with that. I want to give back. I want to help people find their dream homes. I want to help push the American dream. I want to help we all have our vision for that, but we have to know what our values are.
I love that so much because this also ties into what Kim does very well. Kim, I'm going to tell you, I am just so blown away with the ability you've made for community within the new home construction
Thank you.
space. So with Inman on the national level, you've taken a very niche market, new home construction, but you brought in agents, builder reps, builders. You have very similar visions to Laura's with the Inman proposition. Can you share with us how you build community within builders, what it looks and what type of agents you look for?
To like discuss that.
Absolutely. So just like Laura, I think anybody on this call who's a realtor or knows the building industry, there's always this adversarial kind of vibe in between the realtors and the builders, right? But the really successful people that I see in this industry are the ones that get down to what Laura's talking about, the heart of the matter, and who are servers. If they're there to serve their home buyer, they both work together beautifully. So when we build community, I have the unique opportunity to really look under the hood of a lot of different builders and see, like, what are they saying? What are they saying about real estate agents? And there's some great things. And then there's some things they're like, I wish, right? So I have the wish list of, I wish there was more agents that weren't as adversarial. They didn't come in, what are your incentives? And, what are you going to do for my client? And they don't know what they don't know. They're trying to protect their client. They're trying to go to bat for them. They're trying to get the best deal. That's beautiful. But building a home is so stressful. So what your job is, it's almost like being a parent, right? Your job is to take stress off that human and go, you're buying a home. Let's make it exciting. Let's work with the builder rep and make that happen. So building community for us is education, like really getting people to understand one another. If you understand what someone's doing and going through on the daily, you're going to be so much more compassionate for them. And so they both have different roles. And that to me is the excitement of building community within the builder realtor space, because there's opportunities that we don't really realize sometimes.
I love that. Now I'm going to tell you, we've got somebody here who's just gone through the home buying experience recently, Jesse. So following everything you're saying right now, when it comes to, hey, it's a completely different experience, but when you have that professional person working with you, an agent, a realtor, to guide you through the process, it makes all the difference in the world.
100%. Yeah, I was lucky. I had a really good agent.
You know what?
Okay, so I have to bring up this agent that I spoke to again yesterday, because it just was such a unique, I need to introduce you to her. She's working with a new builder, housing developer in Atlanta. She has been so excited about helping this developer create the right floor plans, because she knows the new ways that people are living and asking for spaces. She's working directly with this developer, not only the sales side and bringing in the buyers, but helping her actually understand helping the developer understand how to create floor plans, how to create a sense of belonging in this community. And she's so excited about it. She's gone from being an agent that just is kind of working transactionally into this very visionary builder and developer that she's partnered with to build various different developments across Atlanta. And she's so excited, and she's brought in a whole team of people that really are there to specifically help that piece of it. It has increased her inventory. So while other agents are wringing their hands over not having inventory and leads, she's never paid for leads. She's never had to use Zillow or Realtor.com. She goes directly to the builders and developers and creates those relationships. And so this is where we talk about this opportunity of sort of thinking globally, getting out of the transactional mindset. We've always had struggles with that, and really starting to think about more innovative ways to partner and create new skill sets for ourselves. And just watching the excitement of this woman and the success that she's having with her own passion and seeing it develop over time I asked her, I'm like, what's in it for you for the next 5-10 years? She's like, I'm moving into development 100%. I love it. I love building a team around it. It helps reinforce everything that I do for my clients. And it's so important. And I think it's really a future forward way of thinking for thinking globally. And we have to start bringing that narrative as an opportunity for agents and business owners and brokers to be able to help create opportunity through changing the way that we think. We're so reactive, to John's point earlier. We're defensive about our value proposition, and we don't need to be. We just need to get our value propositions nailed down with some shared values and know where to bring those into other new opportunities and areas. And I see new builds and development being a huge piece of that. So I commend you for getting in and early on the community building side, because once agents start tapping into that, there's a whole new way of doing business that's collective, you know?
Yeah.
So,
And I think too, it's worth mentioning, one of the obvious things right now is builders incentives. I mean, there's a reason builders are dominating the market, but that is an opportunity to get consumers into homes. I feel like there's a lot of people that are putting their dreams to bed. You know, they think I could never afford a home right now. I could never afford 7% plus interest rates. So they're shut off. And what a realtor really needs to do right now is dig in and think about marketing. Like, what are these incentives? You get creative in their storytelling.
you're going to create inventory.
You're not locked in. You can get out there and really purchase a home.
Don't
So
wait
I
for
just think there's
inventory, create your inventory. I
Well,
love
you
it.
need the difference in each market, right? Because my niece
Yeah.
just bought a house last year and she said, well, rates are up. I said, yeah, but when you bought a few years ago, you had to overbid by $25,000. So you
Right.
need to look at the final there, right? And everything
Yeah.
else. And going back to like, for the people on the call, if you're not doing it, I would suggest having first time buyer seminars, because it's a great way to bring in people
Yeah.
for market share. You need to know the developers, because a lot of new first-time buyers are more attracted to that, and you need to explain the differences in resales and all that as well too. It typically has less risk, right, as far as a new build. So you need to know that and have those connections to what the local inventory is, because if you're going to do stuff like that, you need to think the full process through.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one of the things too about, like, recently, as Ken mentioned, I went through the process and there's a lot of just incorrect information or misunderstandings about new home sales in regards to, why do I need a real estate agent if I'm just going to walk in the door? A lot of people don't know that you can still negotiate with a new home. You can still negotiate with the builder. And going back to what you were saying, John, is building those relationships. We're not talking about building relationships with just your clients. Build relationships in a community with other realtors, new home sales, resale agents, everybody. Pick up your phone if people are calling you. Respond to a text message. Like, we're into a point of the industry where nobody's too good to return a phone call. Like, return a phone call. You need to build a community with your fellow peers in this industry, because you have to work together. And when it comes to new home sales, what I've learned just recently with a client, the new home sales rep has been probably my biggest cheerleader, because I wasn't like, oh, I'm going to introduce you to my client. I'm going to fill out this form and great, good luck. I'll talk to you when, just let me know when you close. I'm still involved in the process. So they're getting value from me, and this agent sees that. So her misconception of agents is, oh, they just dump their clients off and they leave. They don't care. They just want the check. No, continue to build the relationship with that new sales rep and show your clients that added value. Not that, great, new home, we're done. It's, I'm going to continue to show you why I'm valuable, because that new home sales rep is going to remember that if I ever come to one of her communities again, right?
Absolutely. And see, what I love about that is that we are looking at ways of rethinking or reshaping our thought process around new home construction. It is education, to your point earlier, Kim. A lot of agents don't know what they don't know. But I'm going to pick up where Laura had left off a bit with innovation and how we can kind of change that mindset. And I'm going to toss this over to you, Jesse. When it comes to looking at new ways of defining ourselves in this industry, we have a lot of technology tools available to us. How can real estate professionals leverage technology to innovate and help them redefine their value proposition, but not use it as a complete, source of going into the business. Like you can have technology, it can help focus narrow your focus, but it's not everything. How do you recommend agents adapt and work with technology, but still stay very human and client centric?
So a great question. I'm gonna preface this answer with an experience I had. So the home I just bought, I geek out on tech because it's a smart home. Everything is smart. Everything is on Wi-Fi. It's great. Until a week ago, my next door neighbor was moving in, and the guy installing their fiber line cut my line in the middle of the day, and my internet went dark. So a very smart home went very dumb very quickly.
Yeah.
And when I started to think about that and I started to analyze that, it was down for 24 hours. I couldn't use my internet. I couldn't use any, it was down. It took 2 guys to come out and run 300 feet of line to figure out what happened because it was only specific to my house. And my point is, what was the value of my home with no technology? It was 4 walls and a roof. It provided shelter for my family. That's what we need to do as an industry right now is if all technology was wiped away, what is our value? We are leaning too much on technology to do our job. We're too reliant on technology to do our job. Again, proptech founder, I love technology as a resource and to leverage it. But if we are to redefine our value proposition and go back to what everyone on the call has been saying, if we were to strip away all the tech, what is our value? What do we get paid a commission for? Right? Is it to open doors? Is it to understand the contract? Is it to keep our clients out of court from getting sued, from buying a house that's going to fall down? Like you have to really think about what your value is and then go, great. As John and Laura have mentioned several times, technology's job is to make sure that my focus could always be on my client and the technology can leverage everything that needs to happen behind the scene. Yeah. Right? It should not take me further away from my relationship from the client. Right? And so technology is one of those things that it's going to leverage. It's the cog in the machine. It's not the machine. And we're too reliant on the technology being the machine.
Yeah, I love that. And I think with the current landscape, technology is, we talked about this in our prep call, but, as we're starting to see Realtor.com and Zillow sort of double down on their, marketing messages around buyer's agency, like they are 100% double downing on what our value is for their consumer. With CoStar buying Matterport, though, we're seeing a big technology play for the consumer. So I think we're going to continue to see, I should say, these big companies really being the ones that are steering the strategic direction of where technology lands for the consumer. And I do believe that we will find, if we do rely upon technology the way that, Jesse is sort of saying we do, we will find ourselves falling further and further behind it, because these companies are the ones that are taking the technology and retraining the consumer on how to utilize that technology for finding homes, shopping for furniture, finding new home developments, rentals, apartments, all of the inventory. That's going to be in the consumer's hands. So again, the technology piece will advance the consumer. How can we advance our unique value proposition for the consumer in a way that allows them to use the technology, but also uses our services in the industry to be able to solidify their safety, give them safety in doing that, give them strong advisorship, give them a lifetime acquisition for advisorship, give them the ability to move globally, acquire multiple properties. This is where the agent comes in. And if an agent is only thinking about a small piece of the farm and my CRM, and can I make that work for me, they are going to fall way behind. So I love that, because I think that if we can start to get agents to really think about, in a big SWOT analysis, technology is going to be great for your strength, but overall, the technology companies that have the technology are going to be training the consumer on how to use it. So for us, it's about keeping close to that relationship being an advisor and thinking of them as lifetime clients and lifetime strategic, portfolio advisors for real estate. And if we can't think that way, we are staying in a transactional mindset. And I think that's a danger for where the entire industry is headed.
I appreciate that so much. When you talk about that transactional mindset, I'm going to shift this back to John for a moment. We're speaking largely about the landscape here in the United States. How are you seeing the mindset shift abroad with your international operations with the agency?
They're trying to be more like us in some ways, which is interesting. I think we're trying to be more European. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense, but it's interesting. And as being a homeowner here in Europe, and it's very different. Agents don't write contracts here. You close at a notary. The seller gets the deposit, which was the wildest thing, which almost made me not acquire this house. It's just very different. So it made me very appreciative of the things we have in place. And depending where you are in the world, maybe it's not been accustomed to actually the dream of an American dream, right, of homes. I think that is changing. I'm also seeing where people are, you need to know, this is something, Laura, when you're talking about Atlanta and this agent, it kind of just popped in my head. I think anyone on this panel has something to do with real estate. You need to know where people are coming from, because you need to know exactly, are there certain parts of the US, Canada, Mexico, Europe, whatever. You've got to be aligned with that. If you see that, maybe it'd be a good idea to connect with people that are in these different markets, right? Yes. There's another line of business for you. And it's not as big of a world as you think it is. It really is not. I can look on LinkedIn and how many people I'm connected one-off. It's like that. What is it with Kevin Bacon, the 4th degree or 3rd degree, whatever?
6 degrees of separation.
There it is. I'm finding it's normally in 4, or 3. Yes. So it's not much of that, but it's a serious story here, is have your specialties of what you do, because so many people are just generic and they make it about them. Well, this is something making it about that person. And if I know that I can talk to you and you come from Portugal, then look at that. There's a lot of alliances here that I think you can really bring that conversation, and that just automatically gives you that level of trust, typically, with these people that you have there. So there's so many ways to look at how to expand your business. So like I said, don't listen to the country club agents because they're not doing it, right? So that's my thoughts on that.
Yeah.
I love what you bring in about the world being a smaller place. And I'm going to take this back to Kim. John talked about specialties. So we're going to go into new home construction for just a moment before we wrap up. How do you see agents leveraging new home construction to really add value, not only to their clients, but to help with the housing shortage that we're seeing, right? So we have inventory issues all around the country, not unique to just Texas, the states that we're in, or the United States. And inventory is an issue across the board. How do you think agents can leverage new home construction to help in this space? And then we're going to get ready to wrap.
I think if they don't right now, if they don't at least pay attention and dig in a little, they're going to be left behind. The numbers are, the latest is in the 30% of all new homes, all homes closed right now are new home sales. The builders are dominating the market. You really need to pay attention to it. You could also double down and niche in it. Niching in new is a space. I am in the space and I don't see many agents utilizing that. So if you do put your value proposition out there, because to Laura's point too, there's a lot of talk out there. There's a lot of noise where, some builders too will be like, you can just come to us. Yeah, you can just go to the builder, but you're probably not going to get the best deal. You're probably not going to pick out the right home site because they're going to steer you into a home site because they need to get that area closed first before they open their new ones. Mm-hmm. So the agent brings so much knowledge to the table. So if you start to speak and really believe in your value proposition of what you bring to the table when guiding new, that is going to translate into your marketing, and people are going to be like, yes, I can go to the builder alone, but I don't want to, and I don't have time to. There's so many reasons why. So I think an agent right now, if you're an agent that's like, what do I niche in? New, really get into new builds, go visit. Not only can you build your network with amazing people that are sitting in model homes, ready to nurture you, to mentor you. They've been in the business forever. Agents are their lifeblood. I strongly believe they always will be. They spend millions of dollars in their marketing campaign for it. And if you're bringing buyers, if you're the procuring cause of a sale, they will continue to not only give you their commission, but they'll bonus you, they'll wine and dine you. It's a great space to be in. So I know that I'm biased, but I think niching in new the best.
It just occurred to me too, that anyone who helps buyers get into a new home, if they do it right and they follow up correctly in that relationship throughout, when they go to sell that home, hopefully they're calling you to actually sell that home. So if you've done your job and you're continuing to stay in touch, not only with the builder, but with the buyer that you've gotten into a new home, when they go to sell, which nowadays, you know, the life, we are in homes in shorter periods of time. I think we're much more nomadic and migrate quicker and, take advantage of other things. But I mean, hopefully if you're doing right, you're taking care of that relationship when they turn around and sell. And I think that's just a key part of continuing your service longer than just one transaction.
Well, and to John's point too, transactional versus relational. You can go back for the real estate professionals on the call. You can go back and look at your past clients. How many of those are repeat? How many of those are referrals? Or are they people that you just knew and they did one deal with you?
Yeah.
Like you can go back and analyze that business.
It's like 75, 80% is repeat and referral business. Yeah.
Well, on that note, you guys, I feel like we have covered a lot of ground, but we've barely scratched the surface. I mean, our time is almost up. So with respect to everyone's time who's joining us today, as much as I hate to stop things right now, we're going to go ahead and move into some questions. I think Patrick Lynch has a question and Kat's going to read that back to us to answer.
Oh, it actually wasn't a question. It was more of a comment. Patrick, he had sent a note to the host and panelist. He said, if we don't define our value with the consumer, it will be defined for us. ... And probably not what we'd like it to be.
Right. And I think that's kind of what's happening. So we do need to create a narrative that, speaks to our value. And that's where that shared value piece comes big, because we're much stronger in numbers than I'm valuable or, we are valuable.
Well, and one of the elephants in the room we didn't even talk about was the NAR settlement and what's happening there. And one of the things is that, just all of that and what's going on. I talked about this on our pre-call. I've talked to so many people, family, friends, clients that are like, oh, great. What's all this? What's going on? Da, da, da. They're all shook up. And then I'm like, well, hold on. This is what it's about. This is what's going on. And like, oh, okay. So what we need to do as an industry is literally just take the time to educate our family, our friends, our clients, and say, it's okay. Nothing dramatic is changing in with regard to the process. Is how we handle the process, is how we are disclosing it, is how we're being more transparent. So when you start to really educate and train them on here's what's truly going on, everyone just takes a deep breath and it's like a weight off their shoulders and they stop panicking. That's the message we need to get out, which goes directly into what this call is about. Is our value proposition is we have to understand what's going on so we can go teach it. And if you can't teach it, you need to go back and understand it yourself before you go teach it.
Absolutely. You guys understanding trusted sources and getting the right information and being able to kind of tune out the noise is so important. Y'all, we're towards the end of our discussion right now. We're going to go ahead and move into closing thoughts. I'd like to ask each of our panelists to give some thought to what you'd like to leave the audience with today and any takeaways you'd like to share. And John, we're going to start with you, then move on to Laura.
I would like to say several things came about this. Like we're talking about keeping clients for life. And I was in a military town is where I started real estate. So every 2 or 3 years, they would PCS and it was a big discussion. But I always ask, this is something that really helped me in my career. There's 2 things here. First of all, with these sellers, ask them why they bought the house, right? That's a good way to kind of share the energy with the people that are looking at that. The other is when my career got much better and manageable is when I actually would meet with a potential client and they were a customer at that point. And after listening to them, I would actually what you're looking for. I'm not the best agent for you. And doing that was very powerful. And even with the listing, they were trying to get me to cut my commission. I said, I'm not the agent for you, but here's some that I can refer to you. I got most of that. So I think it's just having that confidence without being a jerk. That's really strong. And so that's what I want to leave with that is just know who you are and stick by those principles. We're talking about values. Know who you are and stick by that. really strongly, and you'll see that you will just grow in your career very, very quickly.
Thank you, John. That's very thoughtful. Laura, what are your final insights for the audience?
I think my final thoughts are, we need to not panic. We need to be proactive. We need to create a vision for the future that is not just about us, but it's really about taking care of the consumer. We don't talk enough about the consumer and where they are going, what their needs are, what their desires are. They hear every single day how, purchasing homes and moving is going to get harder and harder and harder. And I really think we have an amazing opportunity to bring the visionary folks in our industry together and sort of forge what that narrative looks like, but also find the people that are in your community that help you understand what your value proposition is and help you think outside of limiting beliefs. Because the influences and the news and the headlines is all going to impact and influence what your own belief system is about your role in the industry. And you've got to get above that. And there are plenty of people that can help you do that. Those are the helpers, those are the givers, those are the visionaries. And the more we can bring them together in a sense of community and through different initiatives, the better off we're all going to be. So find the people that want to help you do better and be better. So
thank you, Laura. Love that. Jesse?
What I would say, because I know we have some prop tech founders on here, is from a technology standpoint, there are so many cooks in the kitchen in a real estate transaction. And what the future of real estate looks like is being able to connect all of them together to simplify and streamline the process for the client. And the challenge that I talk to a lot about to any prop tech founder is, and Laura and I talked about this, I think 3 years ago or 4 years ago at an IOI summit, was how do you simplify and streamline the process for the consumer and the client so they feel like they know everything that's going on, everything is transparent, and they are in communication and not having to go to this person for that, this person for that, this person for that, and it's all simplified. So that's my challenge to the prop tech founders out there, because I haven't seen anything out there that's they're getting close, but that's the challenge. Is, as Laura said earlier, these big, massive companies are focused on the consumer. The real estate industry has been so focused on themselves for a long time. And from a technology standpoint, we need to shift that focus and start adding more value there.
yeah.
Love that. Thank you, Jesse. On our prep call, I think John made it clear it is not about you. Take yourself out of the
100%.
equation. And that could not be more true. Thank you so much for those closing thoughts. Kim?
So I have two sort of cliches that just keep bouncing around in my head. And the first one, I remember it was advice that another entrepreneur gave me when I was early on in my career and things seemed really chaotic. And he said, through chaos always comes order. And it always taught me that relax, like you are always going. So what we're going through right now is a little chaotic. And there is so much clarity when we come together. We're having these important conversations. Leaders are coming together. So all of that is, togetherness. And then the other cliche that comes to my head is, when you're worried and you're like, what if we go away? What if my commissions get cut? What if? But what if things got better? What if things got better for our industry? And I think that's the kind of mindset we need to be in right now.
100%.
Is I think that is what's going to happen. It's going to bring better people together to do better. And so I'm excited about what's going on. I'm excited about this conversation. I'm very excited to be here too. So thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. I love that. What if?
I love that.
That's wonderful. What if?
Just immediately changes your energy towards what's possible instead of, oh my God, this is horrible.
Exactly. Well, as we wrap up, I want to thank our panelists, John, Laura, Jesse, and Kim. I want to thank you for your contributions, your authenticity, and more importantly, your friendship, guys. This has been a great conversation. Again, I feel like we just scratched the surface and there's still so much more to talk about.